Well, it's always a delight to have someone with me today, a gentleman that, well, we've been through a lot of battles together, and he's continuing to be on the front line of so many things. Dave Crowe with Restore America, and he's going to be with me for a little while this morning, and you're more than welcome to join the conversation as well, and you can do that at 7765368. Let me encourage you to check out restoreamerica.org. This is an incredible, resourceful website. Pastors, let me encourage you, familiarize yourself with this website. Dave has done all the hard work for you to let you know what you can or can't do as a pastor, as a 501c organization, and to give you incredible resources on how to defend things from the pulpit. And it is just beautifully done. Everything he does, he said, here, pastors, it's for you. And so familiarize yourself with restoreamerica.org. Hi, Dave. How you doing, pal?
Good morning, my friend. It's been a while.
Yeah, we're both in the trenches and busy, and I got a lot to talk to you about. I just got off the phone with former Congressman Bob Beaupre, and he was informing us about this Obama administration wanting to sign the treaty that would basically undermine all of our gun rights in the United States. And apparently the president is bent on signing the treaty, but it does have to go to the U.S. Senate for ratification in 2/3. And I've been told now that well over that will not ratify this. But this administration apparently has just gone crazy with trying to get total gun control in this country. And of course, most of that was evident now by the failed Fast and Furious operation, which ended up being an attempt to do away with the Second Amendment. I don't know, Dave, I don't know where to start our discussion, but I'm a little shaken by this conversation I had with the congressman about this administration now trying to subvert the United States and make it become subordinate to the UN. Any thoughts?
Yes. As you may well know, I read a lot of stuff that comes out from D.C., hold my nose and read a lot of it, and also that's coming out on the UN, on the international side as well. And it shouldn't be a surprise to any of us. The agenda of the UN is dominated by left-wingers, dictators. I think just recently one of their efforts was to put Iran on one of the committees for human rights, I believe. Libya was on there before, so you can imagine this. And what's going on in Syria, the cabal of dictators that dictate and have so many lackeys in the United Nations, we really, in my opinion, should have long time ago told the United Nations that they had so many days to get out of the United States or we would shove them into the Atlantic Ocean. And they're not our friends. And if you're a liberal and a radical progressive liberal like Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, they're more in the trenches with and in the planning of what they want to do in America. If they can't get it done frontally with the people, with the vote, like same-sex marriage, they'll go through the back door. And on an international scene, if they can control our guns and control us, disarm us, really, and make us vulnerable like they've done with all these other countries around the world, then they'll do it. They'll go through the United Nations, and these treaties are the way that we lose our sovereignty. And Americans need to be awakened to this. They should have been over the last 50 years that this has been going on. And so this is just another attempt. But to me, the most important thing is here's another indication of what the Obama administration is really all about. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind, none whatsoever, and I think that's the growing case with many, many people in America, that this president doesn't really understand American history. He doesn't understand our Constitution. He may, but even if he does, he's not for it. He has a different agenda for America and the social welfare system. What he's just done recently, I'm not sure if you're aware of that, but the effort now, I mean, he's just unilaterally, with his health, education, and welfare radical, have just gone bonkers with the law. They've just ignored the law. They're trying to reverse all the good things about the social welfare reform that was done under Clinton.
You know,
and if you watched Huckabee last night, you heard a lot about that.
Yeah.
But they're doing these kind of things in rapid-fire order. And it started with his opening volley as soon as he came into office. And Brett Hume and a lot of folks were wondering how he was going to go about this, whether he'd wait. And, of course, they thought, well, he's not going to try and do it all at once, but he did. So we've got Obamacare, and that was the primary thing on the agenda. So here we go, one after another of all of these things, don't ask, don't tell. And Americans forget that those two things in themselves were passed by a lame duck Congress right before the end of the year, Obamacare right before Christmas, and the 60-plus new conservatives that were elected to the House, the will of the people was shown right there. They did not care. So the lame ducks who had been voted out of office but still held it until the first of the year, they did these things to us. And even though they knew the American people were opposed to it. So we have very little time left, and in my opinion, Perry, the church has to wake up in the next 30 days to what is going on in America.
Well, that's what I want to get into. I just want to say to our listeners and viewers, you're welcome to join us if you want to call us this morning. But Dave, let me go down this road a little bit here, because I know it's your heart. It certainly is mine. There seems to be such a barrage of things happening so fast. It's overwhelming. And the Christian community, I say this respectfully, is overwhelmed to the point where they're just not responding. My heart sunk when we couldn't get enough signatures on this last ballot measure to stop taxpayer dollars going for elected abortion. I mean, this was such a thin piece of the pie to go after, and yet such an obvious piece of the pie to go after. And this is in the shadow where just a couple of years ago, as you know, we had the largest petition signature gathering in the state's history in the shortest amount of time to define a marriage in this, and all of that was done in the churches, and now the churches won't even begin to respond to any of this stuff. It's like they're all closed doors. I don't know. I want to be respectful to pastors and organizations, but if the churches and Christians don't rise up, quite frankly, it's going to be a bad day.
Well, I agree. And the first thing I want to say, because you know I was pretty harsh with them, and I wanted them all to really know that those pastors who are patriotic, those pastors who are courageous, they did step up. But I hate to say that it was a small minority that did so. So my comments and my commentaries and things that I put out on my blog were really meant for those who were hiding and gone into hiding and fearful. The last thing we need is fear in our pastors. We need courage, and that's what people are looking for. And if the church is losing its witness in America, it's because people don't see the courage and the leadership that's coming from the church. And there's just all too few who are willing to stand up and pay the price and trust God rather than man. And so here we are. It's not a slippery slope. It's an avalanche. And people are getting caught up in this terribly. In fact, I'm getting feedback from a lot of folks that just because Romney is a Mormon, they're not going to vote. And you can't even reason with them when you try and let them know that even though he may not be our choice as conservatives and Christians, there are three different spheres, and you can talk about that. Spheres of authority sometime later on, we can talk about that. But we're not choosing a president on his religious beliefs. We would like them to be held closer to ours, but that's not the choice we're given here. And we botched that one because 25 to 40%, I did all the exit poll studies, but after every primary, every one, the day after, and they all reveal from 25 to 40% of evangelical Christians voted for Romney in the primaries. And that's why Santorum had to step aside, because he could just see that people were paying attention more to their pocketbook and were drawing the conclusion that Romney had the skills and the ability to do it. The rest of the issues, our issues, Supreme Court, etc., abortion, don't ask, don't tell, the gay agenda, all of those things didn't matter to evangelicals. That shows how far out to lunch we are in terms of understanding America and what has truly made America great. And it is our character, it's our heart, it's our convictions, it's our understanding of who we are. And we have truly lost our understanding in our younger generations of what America is all about, simply because we've given our whole system over to a Canaanite mentality to educate our kids. And you can't survive that way. And so we have younger generations who have no idea of the providential hand of God in America's founding, with our founders and all those people who've given their lives for our freedoms. So we're easily led by a Pied Piper. I think I was the first one in the country to call him a narcissist and a Pied Piper way back during his campaign. Mm-hmm. And now there's a lot of folks who are recognizing he is a narcissist. And that's unfortunate that we have to say that about the person we elected, but we elected him. We elected him. And 25% of the evangelicals, or those who claim to be evangelicals, who ought to know better, voted for him. So no one was really listening, and I'm afraid that's what's happening now. They're listening to all the pontificating and politicking and pointing fingers that's going on and not really paying attention to what's going on. And you just brought about one of the things that's going about behind back doors.
Oh, this UN treaty just scares me to death. Dave, Romney's about ready to announce. How important do you think this choice will be in trying to keep the evangelicals on board for his candidacy?
Well, I'm really not certain. I hadn't heard that this morning. I've been really buried here and trying to get some things done on our website. But I don't consider that a real strong choice. I will tell you that when I came out of seminary out of Dallas, and the first opportunity that came my way was a very good one. It was a large church called Wooddale Baptist Church up in Minneapolis. And the pastor, I was there for a couple of years, and the pastor that came in was Leith Anderson. Does that name ring a bell? Mm. He is the head of the NAE.
Right.
And he has taken some positions that I'm not real thrilled about. But Palenti goes to his church. And I've known a lot of the people in that church. And I think it's a great church, but it's probably a little to the left of where we are, and it's more the country club Christian organization, and so I have some reservations about Leith, and I have some reservations about Palenti. I think Palenti's a good man. I really do. I think he's got a good heart. I was kind of surprised that he came out so quickly for Mitt Romney, but you always wonder what the deal was behind the Gingrich-Romney thing, too, as well, after all the things that were said and done and the millions of dollars were spent to get rid of him.
Yeah.
So you never really quite know all the ins and outs of that. But apart from Palenti, I don't think that's really a big issue. I think what the real issue is what's in the hearts and minds of Christians. Mm-hmm. I think the perception is that after Santorum stepped aside, the air went out of the balloon. And the balloon is sitting on the ground and can't seem to get enough air in it to inflate, to rise again. And that concerns me greatly. And I think beyond all the politics of who said this, who did that, this election comes down to the Christians deciding whether they're going to vote, whether they're going to vote for a person who has an orientation that is really not truly an American, and it's more socialist. There's a great little book that people need to look up. It says, "And Not a Shot is Fired" by Jan Kozak, who is a Czechoslovakian communist. And virtually this book was written about 1950, and everything that's written in it is coming to pass. It's like a blueprint for all that you're seeing happening. And I've said that about Bonhoeffer's book as well. But Christians are asleep. Christians are busy. Christians are paying too much attention to the liberal media when they should be doing this. And what I'd really like to do, if I can, very quickly, is outline to you what I think needs to happen in the next 30 days.
Please, go for it.
People can go, by the way, I want to address what you said earlier. Folks, you can go to the Restore America website. It's very, very simple. It's restoreamerica.org. If you're not a pastor, and I doubt that very many are listening, but if you are, that's great. But if you're not, this is for you. You can go to the Restore America website. There are tabs across the top. One right in the middle says Resources. And underneath that, it says Pastors, Pulpits, and Politics. It's a great little booklet. Jim Garlow, who was headed up the effort in California on same-sex marriage, a pastor in San Diego area, has written the forefront to that. But all the things that you need to know are in that little booklet. And you can get that by going to the center, the National Center for Law and Policy, and you can click on that as you go to that page under Resources. Mm-hmm. Click on that, and you can download this Pastor's Pulpits and Politics. You can take all this information to your pastor or refer him to it. It's all there. But the major need, because so many millions of Christians aren't registered or are not voting, is that there needs to be voter registration in our churches in September and October. And for Oregon, there's a 21-day prior to election cutoff date.
Right.
That's October 16th. So if you're not registered to vote, and your Christian friends are not registered to vote by that date, they will not be able to vote in the November 6th election. So there needs to be at least 3 voter registration Sundays. The latest ones could be September 30th, October 7th, and October 15th. But you need to urge your pastor that's totally legal. There's nothing wrong with voter registration in our churches, and it has to be nonpartisan. That's all it needs to be. It doesn't need to be a partisan matter. But we need to get Christians all across the country registered and out to vote. And if I could just plead with pastors to make those announcements, let them know that that's citizenship. It's not about politics. It's about citizenship. So go to the website. You can even register to vote there. We've got it set up where if you haven't registered, you can register from anywhere in the country through our website. We've just put one up that's Are You Registered? Where if you're not sure that you're registered, you can go to our website, scroll that top part up there right underneath the resource tab or the tabs across the top.
Right.
And you can find out if you're registered. So we've made that available to you so you can find out. And if you're not, you can register to vote right there. So we're doing everything that we can to make it accessible and easy so you don't have to get in your car and go down somewhere or make the phone calls. It's very easily done through our website. And as easily as we can make it done, that's what we're trying to do. So we're on a major push right now. We do need the support, Perry. Thank you so much for that. But we're on a major effort to get everything lined up with church bulletins, all that available on our website. But those are the key dates. Pray, folks, pray that God will move across the country in the hearts of pastors and their boards, that voter registration is absolutely essential. If you want to save America truly, if you want to save us from going down a road that happened in Russia, happened in all those eastern countries, is happening now in America, happened with Germany in World War II, before that, well before that. That's where we're headed. And we can't allow that to happen or we will lose our freedoms. And this election is absolutely critical. So it's not just another election. This is your opportunity to save America from a direction that you will not want your children to have to face.
Well, there you go. I don't think it's any more clear than that, and I would hope that we understand the seriousness of the moment, Dave. And I think, I think there is a lot of folks waking up. I realize now that people across the board are saying, something is tremendously wrong with our country, and we know what this president's all about. And yes, Romney isn't perfect, but we got to stop it. I think what's really important, the president isn't the answer. We got to have conservatives in the House and the Senate to stop this nonsense, and hopefully the House can retain that control that it has. I think more seats are going to turn over there, and hopefully in the Senate, that if you have a good, strong Congress, they can hold Romney's feet to the fire, so to speak. But what we have learned from this president is how much power a president really does have. I mean, look what this one president has done in 3.5 years. I don't think we've ever seen this ever in the history of the United States.
Well, it's what's called tyranny. I mean, he is literally sticking his fist in the face of the other leg of government, the legislative branch. He has an attorney general that has no scruples about what they really are. They've all raised their hands and sworn to uphold the Constitution and the laws of the United States. And this attorney general, with the concurrence and probably the leadership of the president, they're good buddies. They're kith and kin with this ideology. They're going to ram through what they want, and they're going to defend what they want. And we all know that they decided not to go after or investigate those characters up in, Michigan, or Wisconsin who were standing out in front. Of course, I'm racist if I say they were black.
Yeah.
But that's what they were, and he chose not to do anything about that. He chose not to defend DOMA.
Yeah.
You know, and here we go.
Yeah.
And what he's done is that he's just really totally neglected his responsibility with regard to answering to Congress. And then the president comes along and uses executive privilege. They're hiding. It's just Watergate that's covered up, and the media goes along with it and says, okay, that's fine. I mean, folks, we've got to recognize what's going on here, and the power is moving away from it.
Okay, one other thing here, a few moments we have left. All right, there's this huge contingency out there that says that this is part of God's plan to bring America down.
Mm-hmm.
How do you respond to that?
Well, you know, all through the Old Testament, if people will go back and read the history part, 1st, 2nd Samuel, 1st, 2nd Kings, 1st, 2nd Chronicles, the book of Judges, Numbers, all of those things. If you go back there and you see God pleading, you see God calling and calling and crying out to me. And David, just read the Psalms and see what David dealt with and what went on in his own life. And the call of us to turn to God, to turn back to God, to trust Him rather than man. It's just over and over and over. You cannot miss it. You have to be totally ignorant of what you're reading to see that God, it isn't like God has made robots out of us and He's planned it. Yes, He's sovereign over all these things. And He will somehow deal with His bride. Judgment begins at the house of God. That's rather a thoughtful thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
But when we stop and see this, it isn't the will of God that we go under. I mean,
No.
God recognizes the end from the beginning.
Yeah.
And He recognizes what's in the heart of man. He was not trusting Himself to man because He knows what's in our hearts. But it's never His will for evil to prevail. And it is His will and His purpose for those who are called and are born again and have the power of the Holy Spirit in our lives to stand for truth. He's always calling us to do that. All through the New Testament, that's what they did. In Acts 4, look what they did in standing up against the religious leaders at the time who wanted them to shut up.
Yeah.
And so we are called to be salt and light. We're called to righteousness, to justice, to holiness. And that's been the history of our nation when it's been strong. And when we depart from that, we're going right back into a judge's situation, an up and down hill where people are going to go to their own homes and hold on.
Well, I hope we hear your message loud and clear. Dave, you're a jewel and a true friend. And I just want to say, folks, go to the restoreamerica.org website. It is an incredible resource. Dave has done all the homework for you. Pastors, make this a friendly website for resources for you and your church and church materials. Sunday school teachers, there's so much there for you to have. Even if you're a homeschooler, there's so much information there. And support Restore America. Send them an offering and help them, because he's trying to get this message out across the country and every church in America between now and Election Day. We got to roll up our sleeves and go to work and get people registered. Thank you, Dave. We love you, pal. Enjoy your grandkids today, huh?
Hey, I will. Thank you, Barry. We love you guys out there. Do everything you can to win Oregon back.
We will. Thank you, pal.